So, first thing, I see one person popped in. Don't know who it is. If you can hear me, oh, popped out. Okay. So, I'm in here by myself. We're going to talk about Amari's medicine here. I don't know, people. This is all part and parcel with the healthcare system in British Columbia, Canada. Because we have a high number of immigrant workers that honestly, I don't see them as professionals, people. I just don't. Okay? Too much drama is going on with my family and the healthcare system for too many years. Okay. So after I did the last live, I went off and put Amari on the toilet and spent hours with him back and forth trying to help him go to the bathroom, to which he hasn't pooed yet. Right? You can only imagine how frustrating this really is. Like everything is just falling apart at the seams in one way or another. So, nobody watching it this time of night. So, I'm talking to myself about Amari's medicine. But before I get into this appeal, I kind of want to just get this off my chest because I feel like I'm being set up now with pharmacies, okay? Because, first of all, I'm not a pharmacist and I'm sure the heck no doctor. I'm getting the pediatrician calling me up, asking me to figure out the dosage when the prescription has already been written and has been filled out by the pharmacy. Now, when they sent Amari home from the hospital, they sent him home with a different syringe. It's a little one. But when we go and get his prescription filled, they give us a big one. You can see the difference. Okay? So we figured this is where the discrepancy is, right? Because when Tisha got the first prescription filled, she came with a bottle that said, give him 1.7 millimeters or something like that. And then she showed me on the syringe what the pharmacist showed her in terms of how far to go. 1 full to 1, and then 3 little, whatever it is. Right? And a bottle was supposed to last for 2 weeks. So this is, I think, our second bottle, because the first bottle they gave us was bigger and it was hard to get it out. So I asked for a smaller bottle, but to keep giving him the same amount in terms of what the syringe is. But here I'm looking on here, and it's saying 3.4 mil, which is not what I've been giving him, because I was told, because the pharmacist told Tisha to give him that amount, not that amount. Give 1.7 mil, 170 mg every 12 hours until July 6th. Exclusive. Then increase to 3.4 mil every 12 hours thereafter. Well, it's not July 6th. It is September 17th. And I've been giving him the same amount that I've always been giving him. And now Tisha's coming in because she just came with the new bottle. You can see the big difference. This one's full. And I think this is only good for 2 weeks compared to this. Look what they're doing to my grandson, people. And now she's telling me that the pharmacist is saying give him 3.4, which is almost 3 times more than what I've been giving him. 1, 2, well, almost double, more than double. More than double than what I've been giving him. Okay? I don't know, people. When I spoke to the pharmacist on the phone the other day, she said they don't have the small syringes. They only have the one size. I have to go out tomorrow to go get that beef fat. So I'm going to go talk to a pharmacist at a different pharmacy. Yeah. This is 3 mil. .4 mils. See, these are 2 different size syringes, people. This one goes up to a total of 3 mil. And it's smaller. That's why when we got this initially, the pharmacist said, just go to 1.3. And now they want to give him 3.4 mils. But obviously you can see there's a difference between them. Well, the pediatrician is asking me to figure this out. As if I know. Yeah. This one goes up to 5 mils. No. I don't know. I don't know. He's doing fine with what he's been getting. They just want to pump more shit into him. That's all. So now I'm being told to give him 3.4. Before it was geez. Andre helps me with this. Before it was that. That's what I've been giving him. And I'm okay with that. There's been a couple times I've missed because, we fall asleep or something. But for the most part, it's been pretty regular in terms of the amount and the times, right? Now they want me to give them about that much. 3.4. Almost 4. That's a lot. That's a big difference, people. That is a big difference. Why? Why, when he's been doing okay with what he's on? And these syringes are not easy to use either. Nope. Not at all. So I'm going to a pharmacist tomorrow. Like, where do you take it from? The tip of the plunger or where it meets the line? But either or, you can see it's a pretty big difference in terms of the amount of medicine. Why? When he's doing okay with what he's got. It's like nobody knows what they're doing. And somehow I'm supposed to know. Okay. So, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get when you go to the healthcare system. You just don't know. Half of these so-called doctors and professionals, they're not as professional or qualified as you think they are. Some of them are just actors. They got a diploma from I don't know where they got their diploma from, but they didn't study for it very much, that's for sure. Okay. Anyway, I'm assuming you can hear. 2 people watching, nobody saying anything. I ended up falling asleep after I made some food. I'm feeling quite discouraged with this all. Obviously. So, speaking with truth for reality, he asked for a copy of the dismissal and suggested maybe I should do Grandma Love. Call the didn't read, ask them. I've got to go out tomorrow to go get some beef fat and pork fat so I can make lard. And there's a drug mart, like a Shoppers Drug Mart or something like that, right in that little area. I'm going to go in there. I'm taking this with me. And they can confirm because the 2 syringes are 2 different sizes. And they're both reading. This is in millimeters, ml. And this is in ml. You can clearly see there's a difference in size. Okay? Now, mind you, this one goes up to 3 right there, where my finger is. And 3 is right there, approximately where my finger is. So I suppose in ratio, it would probably be about the same. I just feel uncomfortable pumping up my grandson with a bunch of medication. I don't feel comfortable with it, people. Because, I mean, ever since I was informed, no, the doctor doesn't know what he's doing. He's asking me to figure it out. He's asking me what the dosage is, as if I know what the dosage is. So I had to phone the pharmacy and work it out with the pharmacy because, they're the ones that have the prescription. The doctor should have had the prescription too because it was forwarded to him through the emergency room when Amari had a seizure. So, I don't even know why this pediatrician expects me to understand this stuff, right? But anyway, I don't feel comfortable pumping Amari up with this stuff because ever since I found out it was confirmed with that MRI that he had cerebral palsy, they're always pushing something on me, people. Always. It's like his life is their life. His life is for them to do what they want to do. It doesn't matter what department it is, right? It's like I don't know. I don't see it as quality healthcare, okay? I just don't. Anyway, I don't want to start crying over Amari because he's got a long way to go in life. Right. And there's always going to be some doctor of some kind or some team of some kind that's going to expect the Amazon to come out of a damaged child. Anyway, I'm not doing that good. I'm going to have to get to the hospital soon because those couple of days out in the yard, really, I don't know. But then computer work doesn't help either, right? Because it burns out my eyes. Okay, so anyway, we know what I'm doing. I'm going to the pharmacy tomorrow to confirm this, right? I'm not happy with giving him that amount of the medication. I'm finding that whatever I've been giving him, he's been tolerating. And like if it starts affecting his behavior and he's going to start getting sleepy and all this crap, then I don't know. I'm going to be upset. One is just longer than the other, shorter and wider. They are both the same in mil. Yeah, it appears that way. But I have to increase the dose by 2 times, which is a big jump, don't you think? From 1.3 to 3.4. Don't you think that's a big jump? And I got to give it to him every 12 hours, approximately. And it's supposed to prevent seizures, apparently. How long he's going to be on for it remains to be seen. Right. Okay. So anyway, truth for reality was he's doing fine on 1.3. I don't want to increase the dosage, but if I don't, then I become negligent, right? Right. I have an appointment with the pediatrician in October, I'll express what I'm thinking in terms of it's too high. He'll say, well, I'm not a neurologist. And because I canceled the appointment temporarily with the neurologist at the children's hospital until I spoke with the doctor, pediatrician, I suppose, I mean, the pediatrician will give me another referral. That's not the issue, right, in terms of seeing the neurologist. But, what's the neurologist going to want? Another MRI, which is not going to happen. Do you see how my grandson is just a pincushion for these individuals? My husband has seizures. You have to take meds the rest of your life with seizures disorder, but the meds do work. Okay. Mari's only had the one. Everybody was expecting him to have them sooner. They were surprised that he didn't. It was almost like they were disappointed that he didn't. And then when he did have one, a paramedic called MCFD on me, reported me on something. So when I showed up at the hospital, of course, everybody was whispering behind my back. And then because it was his first seizure and they didn't know why he had it, even though everyone was expecting that he was going to have it because of the cerebral palsy and it was just a matter of time. But because he did have one, the doctors took it upon themselves to give him antivirals, medication, antibacterial medication, all through IV, as they had him sedated for over 24 hours, right? And then they slowly brought him out of everything. They said that they gave him the antiviral and the antibacterial medications in case he had meningitis because they didn't know why he had the seizures. And then they started introducing the seizure medication. And the emergency doctor said that he may only have one in his life. He may only need to be on the medication for 6 months to a year. Nobody knows. That's what she said. Nobody knows. So what does this medication do? If you don't mind telling me. Does it prevent really it? Your husband doesn't have seizures anymore because of medication? Did he have them all the time before the medication? Or did he just have one seizure? What's the reason why he has seizures? The reason Amari has seizures is because of the cerebral palsy. And he only had one. No, he don't. He don't what? I asked you several questions. I'm sorry. He doesn't have seizures no more because of the medication. But he doesn't have cerebral palsy, right? Obviously not. He has seizures for a different reason, right? Are seizures just like in general just seizures? Or is there different reasons for why people have seizures? So anyway, I have to up the dosage now, okay? He had lots before meds, but no matter why seizures, the meds work. That's what the doctor said. emergency doctor said that the one that she's prescribed is quite tolerable for children. And so far, Amari's been doing pretty good. So why are they increasing the dosage? Why can't he just stay on what he's been on, where I'm comfortable with the amount that I've been giving him? Why do I have to up it by 2 times more? Where's the reasoning behind that? If he's managing with what I've been giving him, why do they want me to give him more? Do you know the answer to that one? Maybe? He had lots before. It's true. Okay, so we know the meds work. Okay, so let's just get on with this appeal. So anyway, Truth for Reality wanted a copy of the dismissal, to which I provided him the link to Google Documents that's already up, because I put this into a PDF and uploaded it, and then I added it into the description box in two of my videos that I was reading this. So versus reading it and struggling, because honestly, I can barely see. Okay, my eyes have deteriorated from the last time that I looked at this, which would have been August 25th of 2022, and we're now into September 17th, and my eyes have gotten worse. Okay, so instead of me struggling to try and read this so that I can work on this appeal, because I'm really not, with that one paragraph that I wrote, I kind of just want to hand it in that way, people, because we already know I failed the test. It's the point that I deliver it to the teacher, right? As if I'm dealing with ethical teachers. A child can die having seizures. They being careful so they don't have more. So is that why they've increased the dosage? Because how is it that a child can die? Because when he had the seizure, I didn't even know what it was, because I've never seen one before, right? I've never seen anyone have a seizure before, so I was clueless as to what was going on with Mari. They said 6 months to a year, and then maybe he might be able to come off on the medication. But you're saying no, I should prepare myself for him to be on medication for life now because he's had the one seizure. Realistically, that's what you're saying, right? From experience. And not to worry. And not to worry. Right? And what are they going to do when they do hip surgery and he's in pain? Give him pain medication so he becomes addicted to pain medication? What is it going to be? Morphine? Is it going to be fentanyl? Is it going to be oxycodone, oxycontin? What are they going to give him for pain medication when they cut open his hips and then put him in leg braces like this, spread eagle? It can't move for 8 months to a year. And that's assuming that they don't have to go back in there and clean out an infection or repair something or just do it all over again because of that, research study that they've got him plugged into. So if I'm being sensitive over seizure medicine, it's only because they've got him on a pincushion, booked in for this and booked in for that and booked in for this and booked in for that, and they still want to squeeze in their MRI again. I mean, where is the quality of life for Amari? Huh? Really? Well, we've got crooked judges putting him on lockdown, okay? Putting him on lockdown, people, because there ain't going to be no lawyer out here who's going to litigate on behalf of Amari because they're all too busy looking for car accidents and those kind of court cases because it's big money, right? And they don't care about kids being hurt out here, okay? They don't. They don't care about anything out here, these people. Just get rich by any means necessary. Okay. So anyway, Truth for Reality was saying I should do a couple of videos and read what this is in here, but I already did that. So I figure maybe I should just start playing what I've already done versus trying to reread it all over again with even worse eyes than before, as in August 25th. I'll hear something and then I'll stop the video, and then that's when I'll sit and I'll maybe type something because I can barely see. Everything's just blurring up together. So I don't know if this is even going to work. I'm going to turn on this computer and see.
Thank you.
Okay, so right. If we listen to this, okay.
The defendant, Her Majesty,
I don't have to read.
And the Queen
I just have
in
to
right
listen.
Of British Columbia, the
right.
Crown,
maybe try and follow up with the paper.
An order striking out the notice of civil claim and dismissing the plaintiff's action. The Crown's arguments are based on several grounds, which I discuss below. 2. In response, the plaintiff's position is that her claim is properly based on the mistreatment that she and her family have received from various government agencies and their employees since 1990.
Okay,
I know that the plaintiff,
this judge,
self-representative.
See, he's pulling out numbers, but he's twisting things around. The 1990s. Well, yeah, Tisha was born in 1998. So I guess you could say that's the 1990s, right? In terms of what they did to me at the hospital and what they did to Tisha at the time of her birth, right? To which, he doesn't care to even consider what happened. Because the thing is, when this stuff happens to you, you got to be up on it. If you get injured in the healthcare system and you figured you got injured, you can't wait. You got to go back and deal with it like ASAP. And filing a complaint isn't good enough, right? Like when I had Tisha, after all that trauma with giving birth to Tisha, after that was all said and done, I just wanted to get the heck out of the hospital. Seriously. I couldn't wait to leave, right? And they came and they checked up on me and they said, "How you doing?" I said, "I want to go home." I was out of there not even 2 days later. I was gone. I never wanted to go back, considering what they had done to me and to my baby, right? But for a whole year, it felt like my back was broken. It turned out my uterus got tilted from that, which would have warranted a lawsuit. But you're young, you don't stop and think about it, right? I had to go home to my other kids, Uncle John, whatever, right? Just put it behind you. And then when you pull it out years later as a point when it comes to gang stalking, they ignore it, right? But really, it started in 1998 with the birth of Tisha. And with the doctor wanting to clip my tubes. The doctor that was like the baby doctor, he was trying to convince me to get my tubes cut so that I couldn't get pregnant anymore. And I said, well, I'm not cutting my tubes. So instead of cutting my tubes, they gave me too much oxytocin, where it practically killed my baby and had me fly off the table to the point where it tilted my uterus and birth basically sterilized me. That's basically what happened, people. But of course, the judge didn't hear that part of the story because he wasn't interested in that.
In this action, she was ably assisted by a friend at this hearing.
That was Rhea.
Could be AI for all we know, people. Be prepared for AI.
Yeah, AI judges.
4. I also wish to stress that I have significant
Can you hear this?
For the plaintiff. As I discussed below, she has lost 2 daughters. She is the primary caregiver for her disabled grandson, among others. She is a resilient person who has dealt with many setbacks over the years. 5. Despite my sympathy for the plaintiff, it is clear that her claim must be dismissed.
He got into 5 sentences and he's saying it must be.
Issues and findings, okay? 6. The issues for me to decide in this application are whether the province has established A, that the plaintiff's action is bound to fail, B, that the plaintiff's allegations are frivolous, vexatious, or scandalous, or C, that the plaintiff's notice of civil claim is an abuse of process.
Grammy Love, I tend to agree with you saying that, because there are civil rights lawyers in the United States of America that take pride in what they do in terms of representing the victims within the public itself. Where I live in British Columbia, Canada, a lot of these judges and lawyers, and they're enablers to this because they are the recipients to the organs that are coming in when they need them. So they don't want to rock no boats. They want to keep a steady flow of body parts going through the system unabated. Because ultimately, that's kind of where it all leads to, right? And with technology going into this transhumanism, they're doing other things with these bodies, right? Just like they're embalming them in a hospital and putting them on a bed for 9 days and trying to play them off like they're alive, just to cover their tracks that they actually pillaged the body of its organs and they didn't want the mummy to find out. They also took the body after the fact and did something else with the body before they would cremate the body. Okay, And I do believe that whatever we're seeing on the internet in terms of our political like Dr. God, Dr. Death, aka Bonnie Henry, who gets up on YouTube with the province of British Columbia, Canada, pushing her envelope in terms of, inoculations and all this other crap. And then I guess a spring or something goes loose, and then her neck bulges out, right? And they try and mask it over so that you don't see it, right? But it's too late. Already got it on camera, which tells me it's probably a robotoid or something like that, posing as a human being, being, the health minister of British Columbia, Canada. Well, maybe not the health minister, but the health officer, right? But we know the health minister is as equal to the health officer. I mean, you can't win. You can't win. You can't escape. I can't escape this province. I can't leave. They've got me so locked into manufactured poverty that it's impossible. I'm like just waiting for death. Really. Just waiting for it, people. And what else is left?
7. For the reasons set out below, I grant the defendant's application. I strike the notice of civil claim and I dismiss the action. I do not grant liberty to amend. I find that the action is A, bound to fail because the plaintiff has no standing, and B, is an abuse of process because it represents a collateral attack on a prior decision of this court. 8. Having made those two findings.
Yeah, okay, I don't want to drag this out for too long outside of, well, I guess we just kind of have to go through it, because further into it, he goes on to say that Judge Bowden never received any information in regards to that enduring power of attorney, which is a bold-faced lie. So that needs to be challenged, right?
I do not need to consider whether the action is frivolous or vexatious.
He's saying that I can't challenge Judge Bowden's dismissal because Judge Savage was related to the waiver of fees to put an application in for the appeal. So I'm sure he's making reference to Judge Bowden. Because when they say it's dismissed, they don't expect you to come back. They just expect you to live with it. And if you don't live with it and you come back, then they accuse you of this crap.
The notice of civil claim. 9. In order to understand the notice of civil claim, certain tragic events in the life of the plaintiff and her family must be understood. Briefly subscribed. The main events are as follow. A. For more than 2 decades, the plaintiff and her family lived with a man named John Duncan. She says that he was like an uncle or surrogate grandfather to her children. In addition, the plaintiff held his power of attorney. I understand.
Okay. I had 2 powers of attorney. This judge is being misleading. I had enduring power of attorney and power of attorney. So maybe we need to address section 9A in terms of Judge Ross being misleading. Although he does mention enduring power of attorney at some point, but what I'm finding is CIBC Bank and obviously these judges, they're trying to, it's like sweeping the floor, having a little pile of dust that you know is there, and then trying to sweep it under the rug and pretend that you actually cleaned it up, but it's not because it's still under the rug, right? And then, you try and distract away from it so that people forget about it. That's what these judges are doing with the enduring power of attorney. So I'm going to put an X here because as far as I'm concerned, this judge is being mischievous. And misleading.
That Mr. Duncan was removed from the Chorney family home.
See, that's not true. He was not removed from the Chorney family home. Okay? So, not removed. Not removed. He was removed from a care facility, a temporary care facility that he had been in from the 4th of February or so. First, he went into the hospital, non-emergency ambulance, because of a lung infection. At the time, we didn't know what it was, right? Made to stay in a hall for a couple of 2-3 days. They gave him drugs to keep him quiet on the gurney in the hall until such time they moved him upstairs, gave him a bed in the hospital, and then when they were going to release him, they gaslighted. Yes, good evening, Lucy. They gaslighted him and I, convincing us that it was in his best interest to have him go to the temporary care ward for a little extra physiotherapy because his lung infection was cleared up because of the antibiotics. But at that time, they were drugging him, and we didn't know that they were drugging him. And so, he was going in and out of, drug psychoses, right? And so anyway, they put him in the temporary care ward we were thinking he'd get extra physiotherapy, but that's not what happened. What happened was they were buying time to illegally transfer his mail to his sister's house so they could get in touch with his bank. They were waiting for a bank statement or something like that, to which John didn't get bank statements, but he did get a credit card statement. And that credit card statement was transferred to his sister's house. And then once that happened, that's when they came in and swooped in and took him. So they didn't remove him from my house, people. They removed him from a temporary care ward that he had been in for like almost 20 days. He was in the hospital for like 39 days, 40 days. Between the Surrey Memorial Hospital and the Old Yale Temporary Care Ward, it was something like 39, 40 days. Okay, that's where they removed him from. This judge is being mischievous and he's being misleading. So that needs to be corrected, right? So if I was to say anything before we go too far, because the point of this is just to write 1 or 2 or 3 pages, right? If I can even get 1 page, submit the 1 page, I'd be happy with that because I don't expect much from these crooks, because that's the way I see them. They speak with forked tongue. They use illegitimate case law that has nothing to do with my family. They trivialize what your family goes through, and just so on and so on. Is it like that in other jurisdictions? I don't know. All I know, it's like that in British Columbia, Canada, because we have a predator class that feeds off of families like mine. And that's why they're bringing in a whole bunch more immigrants, because my kind is dying off. Okay. We're being murdered one by one. We're being injured one by one. And when the well dries up, they're going to have to fill it back up with something. And they're bringing in all kinds of different immigrants to fill the gap. Okay. And some of those immigrants are part of the problem, and some of those immigrants are going to be the victims. And that's just the reality of living in British Columbia, Canada. So we've got our first sentence, right? It says, to address Judge Ross's dismissal, Judy Chorney is requesting the Court of Appeal to order a discovery of all pertinent files that relate to Mr. John Duncan, Shimei Chorney, Sierra Chorney, and including files relating to Andre Chorney and Amari Johnson, in addition to Judy Chorney's welfare files dating back to January of 2003. I was specific about that. Now we've got 2, and we're on section 9. How do I do this? What do I say? Okay, so Grammy Love, then they took your power away. They not supposed to do that unless they weren't supposed to do that unless he agreed to do it. But you see, that's the thing. He didn't agree to anything because they drugged him up. They put him in a hammock from a temporary care ward. I walked into the room, people. I seen the hammock. There was a bunch of people standing around his bed. As a matter of fact, it was his sister, Eleanor, who said, "Get out, get out. You're being rude," because I walked into the room with Andre. I said, "Where's John?" I was surprised that John wasn't sitting in his wheelchair waiting for me, because he told me to go get Paul, the lawyer. And I came back to tell John that I spoke to Paul and that we were going to get Paul, the lawyer, because Paul said, "Okay, we'll talk," right? I walked into the room at the temporary care ward, and there was, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people around John's bed. The curtain pulled a little bit, but I could see all the people around the bed. I could see the hammock. And then this witch, I'm like, "Where's John? Get out of here. Get out of here. You're being rude and disrespectful." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Right? I didn't even want to go look, people, because I had Andre with me. So I just turned around and I went down the hall to the doctor's station. And I'm like, "Well, where's John?" They're saying, "Well, he's gone." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean he's gone? He's not there. Who released him? We don't know. Just wait." I didn't wait, people, because they wanted me to talk to that screechy social worker. I just left. I said, "Come on, Andre." I didn't want to put Andre through all that drama. And I'm pretty sure it was that sister, Eleanor Gilding, who said, "Get out of here. You're being disrespectful," because I have Shimei on the phone with Eleanor Gilding's daughter, talking about how her mother, Eleanor Gilding, picked up John with the sister, Elaine, to bring him over just for a visit. Okay. The judge has that recording. He ignored it, didn't want to listen to it, doesn't care. They don't care that Uncle John was doped up. so that he could be having his limp body moved into a hammock so that they could put him sleeping like a baby in Eleanor Gilding's van so that he could sleep in the ferry as they crossed over the water. And when he started to wake up from the Oxycontin, he realized where he was and he started, and they rushed him to the emergency ward at the Victoria General Hospital. It's on record. And because he was there for months, they kept him detained at the Victoria General Hospital for months. And when they brought him in after they took him off the ferry, that's what they told him at the they said that's how they found him. With the judge now saying that they took him from my home, which is a bunch of crock. They didn't take him from my home. They took him from a fucking temporary care ward that he had been in for fucking over 20 days. And he was in the hospital for between the care ward and the hospital for a measly 40 fucking days because they wouldn't let him go, people, because they were stealing his money, people. How do I fight against this, people? And then they kept him drugged. They wouldn't let him see the kids. The lawyer, Paul, the lawyer, told Shimei and me, I found him. You better go before they move him. Go. So we isolated him down to the Victoria General Hospital in April. Marcaine and Shimei went. And then they had 20 minutes to talk to John, and they didn't know what to say. They weren't trying to bum rush him. They weren't trying to make him feel bad. They wanted him to know that we loved him and that if he really wanted to freaking stay there, but he was telling the kids that he wanted to come home. And then his sister came in like a bat out of fucking hell and started threatening to call security on the kids, right? Got that on fucking tape. Do you think this Judge Ross gives a shit about that? No, because they're covering up for her, people, right? And she's telling John, you can't see the kids because you're not well enough, John. You know that. Got that on recording. As she's calling security. So the kids left because they didn't want the cell phones with the recordings being taken away. It's bullshit, people. They didn't take him from my home. They took him from a fucking care facility that he'd basically been in the healthcare system for 40 fucking days. So how the hell did he show up at the Victoria General Hospital half dead after they got off the ferry? And then they kept him doped up just to keep him quiet as they were wheeling and dealing with CIBC Bank. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to pass the test. It's rigged. These are not real. This is not real judges that I'm dealing with, people. I don't know what this shit is. This is not a real justice system in British Columbia, Canada. This is a harvesting train. They're harvesting old people and their money and their assets, and they want their houses. That's, like I said, why that building sits empty over there for over a year, empty for 55 and older. Yeah, okay. Just go to the temporary care ward. That's where you're going to find all the old people, just waiting for a spot to open up in an old folks home. Just wait for a few more old people to die in the old folks home so they can move them from the temporary care ward and put them into some other bed that somebody else just died in. And then repeat the process over and over and over and over and over and get rich. Get rich. That's all they're doing is getting rich off of it. They don't want to shut down Eleanor Gilding. She brings in too much money for them. So how do I write this down that he's being misleading and mischievous? He doesn't have his facts straight because he didn't do his research, because he didn't want to listen to the freaking evidence. And when it was staring him in the fucking face, he didn't even want to acknowledge that. Is he a Justice Ross or a Judge Ross? What is the difference between a Justice Ross and a Judge Ross? More like a robot with a loose gear. That's right. They just suck up the money. That's when they started paying $1,700 for the care home that they put John in after this. It was all sealed and done with the bank. Okay, that's when they did their card fraud with the bank to lock me out of getting the printouts. They never took me to court. They didn't take me to the public guardian and trustee and take away my power of attorney and enduring power of attorney that way. They never called me in personally in any kind of capacity ever to try and take away my enduring power of attorney. What they had to do is dirty pool and use one teller 3 times to kick out my card to have access to John's bank account to see in terms of what they were spending the money on, to which I did for over 15 months until finally they kicked out my card. Judge has that information. Why is he ignoring that? Is he not asking how I got all that information if I didn't have enduring power of attorney? Why did they have to do bank fraud in order to kick me out of John's account just to hide what they were doing? Because, I was doing YouTube videos. I said, oh, they're taking out 17 e-transfer. His sister's now e-transferring $1,700 into some other place. Well, now we know that she doesn't have him locked up in her fucking bedroom in Mill Bay in on the island up by Shawnigan Lake, right? Because she took him out in the country and locked him up in a fucking room, people, and then just let him stay there, right? And then when she got tired of that, she just then transferred him because she got what she wanted. And they didn't want me to see the ongoing withdrawals of $1,700 every month to confirm that they moved him into an old folks home. I could even tell you which one they put him in. The one that Eleanor was connected with in terms of she was involved with it. Right? And it was supposed to be a nonprofit one at that. Nothing nonprofit about it. It was a front to steal old people's money. That's all it was. So how do I write down that Judge Ross is being misleading and mischievous? Got to stay focused here. Correct him factually, but the judge still chooses what to read is a sham. Yeah, well, of course. Calm down. You have the baby there with you. He got happy. Didn't you hear him? He was laughing. He doesn't distinguish sounds like that. He's playing. He was giggling. That's what he was doing. Don't worry. And he's way over there. Right? You hear him. He's happy. Trust me, he's happy. Amari's a very happy little boy. Okay. Okay, so he's being misleading. So before we go too far with this, because he does it throughout his whole thing here, right? So I have to address that. All right, I'm just going to put Judge Ross. I don't know if he's a justice or a judge. I don't know what the difference is. How does he sign it? I don't want to have to go back in and change it. He just goes A. Ross J. Wow. A. Ross J. Justice. Okay, justice. So we better change that in the beginning. So we'll fix that. Okay. So the first one we'll fix that later. So Justice Ross. So this is number 2 now. Okay. I've been living the same nightmare over and over and over again for years. They took Uncle John in January, basically from the moment he came into the hospital, and I phoned his family to let him know that he was there, and that witch out of hell flew over on a broom and basically told the Punjabi social worker that John was sitting on a whole bunch of money and they didn't want anybody to get it except Eleanor Gilding. And that Punjabi social worker made it happen right along with her sister in crime because it was 2 of them. That's what I mean. Because they got bought off. Eleanor paid them off. She gave them bribes. She gave them money under the table. You have to remember, that's a hospital that illegally embalms bodies and sells body parts on the black market. We have tens of thousands of Punjabis out here drooling at the bit, looking for houses to buy. Okay. I'm not kidding. And we've got thousands and thousands of old people locked up in temporary care wards or old folks' homes, not allowed to go home and are being forced to sell their houses because a Punjabi social worker or some kind of social worker from some kind of country said so. That's the reality of British Columbia, Canada, when they're not going after the young people for their organs. Correct him factually. Okay, so Justice Ross is being misleading under Section 9A really, you need more time to do this kind of stuff. I probably already missed something, so I'm just going to go with what really catches my attention here. Justice Ross is being misleading under Section 9A of his dismissal by stating that Mr. Duncan was removed from his home, people. He's saying was removed from my home because he's trying to make me look like I'm scandalous. Okay? removed from the Chorney family home. This was John's home, for crying out loud. He was removed from his home. You need legal help with that. Yeah, but there is no legal help in British Columbia, Canada. That's the thing. If you don't have $50,000 retainer, you're a nobody. You're not going to get nobody to help. Nobody. Nobody. You can't go to legal aid. They don't help you with legal aid if you're trying to sue the government. You can't go to pro bono because they're all bought and paid for, just like these freaking judges and these crooked lawyers and these crooked politicians, okay? That's just the fact of life in British Columbia, Canada. Like I said, I have no life here, people. I'm already half dead, okay? Can't you see that my life is at the end of its time? I mean, it's pretty plain to see from where I started off with the foundation to where I've ended up with everything. Okay? Why? Ask yourself why. Because body parts are more valuable than human beings. Old people's assets are more valuable than justice or ethics or old people having comfortable lives, unless, of course, they're a certain color and have a certain amount of wealth that are connected to a certain ethnic group. Those ones can flourish and prosper and run around town bragging that they're this and they're that and they own this and they own that, while other ones like Uncle John are the victims to them because Uncle John represents all the little houses in the province that other people want to buy now. Okay? It's just Uncle John didn't have a house to buy. He had superannuation life insurance policy to steal, which is guaranteed income from the, well, actually, that's not true. He didn't have a superannuation life insurance policy because he canceled it. His sister didn't know that. She thought that he had one, but he didn't have one unless they did another backroom deal to make sure that they could reinstate it so that they could get it anyway. But he did get the inheritance from Joan, to which his sister never told him about. So they stole that for sure. But they didn't luck out with the superannuation life insurance policy because that was canceled. Unless, of course, they went deeper into it and committed fraud on a whole new level and tweaked some files within the government so that the government paid it out even though they shouldn't. And these are the types of crooks that we're dealing with. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get away with it. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get away with it. Falsifying paperwork. Okay. Justice Ross is being misleading under Section 9A of his dismissal by stating that Mr. Duncan was removed from, I'm going to write it the way he said it, the Chorney family home, removed from the Chorney family home, whereas the truth is Mr. Duncan was illegally removed from the old Yale temporary care facility located in Surrey, BC, because he was denied the right to go back to his home This is just word fuckery. That's all it is. Denied the right to go back to his home, to which Justice Ross deems to be the Chorney residence. Okay, let's just read it. I wish I could see it. Justice Ross is being misleading under Section 9A of his dismissal by stating that Mr. Duncan was removed from the Chorney family home, whereas the truth is, that should be a comma, whereas the truth is, Mr. Duncan was illegally removed from the Old Yale Temporary Care Facility located in Surrey, BC, because he was denied the right to go back to his home, to which Justice Ross deems to be the Chorney residence. Just a bunch of wordplay. That's all it is. But it's the truth. Do you think they're going to care? No. Because they do it on purpose. Because they like to get that cortisol going and keep it going to the point where there's nothing left in your brain except a bunch of mush. Yes, stick with facts, not describe the judge as wrong does just facts. I'm not very good with facts, Lucy. I tried to put the facts in, but people don't see them as facts. I see them as facts. I know them as facts. I can prove them as facts for the most part, but I'm not very good with material facts. But that's a fact, okay? What I just wrote there was a fact. They did not take him from my home. The judge is being misleading, okay? He's lying. He's twisting the truth. He's trying to make me look like John was apprehended from my home. No, he was not apprehended from our home. He was taken out of a temporary care ward illegally in the bottom of a ferry, doped up. The judges know each other, so make it look like he made mistakes. Oh, yeah, right. Well, that's what You don't think I haven't thought about that? Oh, woe is me. The poor judge made mistakes. Oh. Yeah, okay. We know why he made mistakes. I don't think I'm going to make it, people, through this. Duncan was removed from the Chorney family home by Mr. Duncan's sister, who relied upon a different power of attorney to take control of his person and his finances. She appointed herself the power of attorney one day after John told me to go get Paul, the lawyer. And she gave me a handwritten note with one signature on it, which is not a legal document. And when she had John sign whatever it was that she had John sign, John can't read because of his blindness. She could have told him anything and he would have signed it. Right? Because, you know, he would want it to please his sister, and who knows what she told him. So it was done through fraud because she's the one who did the mail fraud. So how you see where they got me on this one, okay? John told me to go get power of attorney. John told me to go get Paul the lawyer on the 19th. Eleanor's seen that, knew the lawyer was coming, got scared, showed up the next day on the 20th because she was spying on us. In my original notice of civil claim, I listed a section under different acts and legislations where spying is specifically not allowed in temporary care facilities through their mandates and rules and regulations. But they were doing it anyway. They were spying on John. And when they heard me that I was going to go get the lawyer because John told me to go get the lawyer, that's when Eleanor showed up on the 20th and had John sign something to say that he signed over power of attorney. The only thing is, John wouldn't have been able to see what he was signing. So she could have told him anything. And the only reason she did that, people, is because by that time she needed to know what John's bank account was. So she was waiting for the mail to be transferred. They were just holding him long enough to transfer the mail so that once they got information on his banking center, then they could hook him with the bank, right? And because she knew I was going to come back with Paul, she had to get him out of there fast. And that's why they took him out on the 23rd. And I didn't come back until the 23rd because they were running around, the social worker and all the workers, all the immigrant workers, the immigrant workers, right? Because that's what it was. It was full of fucking immigrant workers from one end of town to the other end of town. They were all running around accusing me of elderly abuse and this, that, and, and abusing John and just to make me feel uncomfortable, right? That, I didn't want him to get care or whatever the fuck it was, right? And so I said, John, whatever, I'm just going to stay home and do taxes and just let it all ride out for a couple of days and I'll contact Paul. Okay. So I left and I contact Paul. So by the time I came back on the 23rd, I had already talked to Paul. I had done our taxes. I did his taxes. I did my taxes. I went to go have him sign his taxes so I could put them in the mail and let him know that we could now call Paul because Paul agreed that he would talk to both of us to discuss the situation. But that's when I walked in, people, and they were loading him up in that freaking Hammett with Eleanor with her crow face. Get out, you're being rude, get out of here, you're being disrespectful. And I just said, to hell with this. I had Andre and didn't want to be a drama queen. So how do, and then just through that process, so she had him sign this funky something, and how do I dispute that? Because they're not pulling, they're not wanting to investigate it, people. Right? They're cherry picking what they want to cherry pick just so that they can hide the facts. Yeah, it is very difficult. They make it difficult so people give up. So they can do it again and again and again. For crying out loud, Lucy, you might end up like Uncle John. Not me. I have no assets. I'll end up like Shemay and Sierra. That's my fate. Okay? But someone like you, Lucy, if you got like a superannuation life insurance policy or something that they want when it comes to assets, oh God forbid. I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry for you, Lucy. You're so at risk because you're getting up in age, right? Because they're crooked. That temporary care ward was full of old folks that couldn't go home because the social workers were telling them that they had to sell their houses because they were just too old to live on their own. Okay. And it wasn't that they were too old to live on their own. It was the fact that all the other immigrants in the freaking community wanted their houses. And the property developers and those kind of people wanted their houses. So they wanted the old people out so that they can go buy them, overinflate the property price, raise the rents so that nobody can afford to live in it unless they come in from another freaking country and pack and stack them in there like freaking sardines just so they can make their $5,000 off of an old bungalow that they're going to tear down anyway as they don't fix it. That is the routine in British Columbia, Canada. And the government obviously likes it because it stimulates the economy, because the Punjabis represent too much money when it comes to that so-called tax base, not to mention what's going through in the underground economy. And the fringe benefits around that underground economy when these crooked judges get old and need a heart or need a kidney or need a lung or need some eyeballs or need some freaking balls. Who knows what they need, but they want it when they want it, and they've got the money to pay for it, and they've got the system, the network in order to be able to put their orders in when they need it. And that's why people like me just keep going around and around and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. We lose more of our kids. We are expected to give away our stuff. Our grandkids are injured. Just life is just grand for us. As we've got judges being misleading, making it sound like people are being taken away from us because there's something wrong with us, when in fact he's just taking that little pile of dirt, which is his dirt, his kind and their dirt. He's just taking his dirt and hiding it underneath a little carpet, hoping that everybody will forget that it's there. But at the end of the day, he can take credit for that dirt because that's his dirt. Yeah, I'm just babbling. I'm not getting much done, am I? Temporary. Okay, so let's just read that sentence again. Justice Ross is being misleading. I'm not going to say Justice Ross made a mistake because he made more than one mistake. He's being misleading, and at the end of the day, he's being mischievous about it. That falls under the Criminal Code of Canada. This dude is not my friend. He doesn't care about my family. If anything, he is an enemy to my family, and he wants to hurt my family. So I don't feel no obligation to kiss his freaking nasty ass. Or just don't, people, because these individuals are fake as fake can be. Justice Ross is being misleading under Section 9A of his dismissal by stating that Mr. Duncan was removed from the Chorney family home, whereas the truth is Mr. Duncan was illegally removed from the Old Yale Temporary Care Facility located in Surrey, BC, because he was denied the right to go back to his home, to which Justice Ross deems to be the Chorney residence. Well, that reads to the point. John wanted to come back home to his home. It wasn't the Chorney residence. It was John's residence. He lived here. He was on the lease. His wife lived here. We moved in together. Okay? But then he blends in Eleanor. In addition, the plaintiff held the Chorney family home by Mr. Duncan's. Okay. He just blends things together. Like he's being mischievous. These paragraphs are supposed to be single sentences with one complete thought. Okay? They're not supposed to be blended sentences. Okay? But he's blending in two different thoughts. So maybe I need to draw a line here. Okay, for more than 2 decades, the plaintiff and her family lived with a man named John Duncan. She says that he was like an uncle or surrogate grandfather to her children. In addition, the plaintiff held his power of attorney. Okay, what am I doing here? How did I get 9A in here with him being... No, I'm making reference to this wrong. 9A. You see, everything's all blurry for me here, right? I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Stop getting emotional. Just focus. I feel like I have to explain myself. I don't need to explain myself. I explained myself for years and years and years and years and years already. Having made those two findings, I do not need to. Okay. In order to understand the notice of civil claim, certain tragic events. Okay. So 9A. For more than 2 decades, okay. She says that he was like an uncle to her. Okay. Child. In addition, the plaintiff held his power of attorney. I understand that Mr. Duncan was removed. Okay. Yeah. No, this guy's a scatterbrain, man. John Duncan, she says that he was... Okay, listen to this sentence. I'm going to read it without interrupting, okay? For more than 2 decades, the plaintiff and her family lived with a man named John Duncan. She says that he was like an uncle or surrogate grandfather to her children. In addition, the plaintiff held his power of attorney. I understand that Mr. Duncan was removed from the Chorney family home by Mr. Duncan's sister, who relied upon a different power of attorney to take control of his person and his finances. Mr. Duncan was hospitalized at a facility within the Fraser Health Authority. Okay, she got a false enduring power of attorney. He's suggesting that she took him because he was incapable of managing his own finances, and she removed him from my home, even though he was in a care facility, right? Even though I had enduring power of attorney for 25 years with good standing, with the original enduring power of attorney form in black and white, to which CIBC Bank withheld from me. I asked them to give me a copy of that, and they refused to give it to me. They told me to take a lawyer, and it took me over a year to finally get a copy of that original enduring power of attorney that was signed by John and me in 1990. But for whatever reason, it was ignored because Eleanor came in out of nowhere, an estranged family member that he had no real relationship with for over 50 years. Okay. But all of a sudden, she was holding this inheritance that she failed to tell John about for 14 months, kept it hidden away from him. And then when she heard that I was going to go get a lawyer, that's when she showed up on the 20th and signed herself on as an enduring power of attorney, to which tells me that she took over his, I guess you could say, assets based on the fact that at that particular time he was confused, because they kept playing the confused card. Well, today he's confused, today he's not confused, today he's confused, today he's not confused. So what I'm trying to say is, how is it that she could appoint herself enduring power of attorney because he asked me to go get a lawyer because he knew something was up and he wanted to just come home here, and he felt that he needed a lawyer to do that. He wasn't fully aware of anything that he inherited yet. I think they were dropping hints that maybe he inherited something, but they weren't forthright and told him exactly what it was, because if that was the case, he would have told me, right? At the best that we got was he was kind of hinting around that, because Tisha, when we did a video, she asked him for $5, and he says, yeah, well, it might be more than you think, right? So, but other than that, he hadn't been informed of anything of in terms of what he inherited. They didn't tell him that shit until they took him to Victoria, and he was already drugged up, sleeping, as everybody was running around looking for his wallet, and then started to accuse me of stealing his wallet because his wallet was at home. Like, this is messed up, people. This is so messed up, people. Like, you don't know how messed up this is. And this judge is just making it more messed up. This is what I mean. He's being mischievous, right? Eleanor didn't have another enduring power of attorney. What she did is she appointed herself with a social worker to witness something that she had John sign that could have been anything as far as John knew. And she paid the social worker off to go along with it. Enduring power of attorney means that he was incapable. So how can a long lost sister show up and just appoint herself as an enduring power of attorney when the patient themselves is under duress, but yet is being on camera saying, go get a lawyer before this gets out of control? I don't know how to fight against that, people, because that's why we have judges, for the judges to look at the information and to acknowledge that my enduring power of attorney of 25 years outweighs anything that an estranged, long lost sister could possibly produce within 24 hours when the patient is saying, go get a lawyer. I don't know how to write that down. And even if you write it down, even if you bring out the different sections, I've already brought out the different sections within the mandates and all this other crap to show that it was a legal activity in terms of how they were, what they did was wrong. They can't appoint themselves whatever they were doing under their legislation with the Patient Property Act, with the Guardianship and with the Adult Guardianship Act, with the Patient Property Act, with the Consent Something Else Act. There's like several acts that all intertwine with each other that all talk about the same shit. And what Eleanor did can't do it. And even if you write it down with all their fucking sections and you make it black and white, they still ignore it and they turn around and they twist it around. I hate my life, people. They killed John. And then they went on to kill my family for this bullshit. I hope Eleanor Gilding burns in hell for this. My daughter is dead because of her. My grandson is injured for life because of her. This is a provincial government employee that's been employed with the government for over 40 fucking years here, people. And this is what this Judge Justice Ross is protecting. I can't leave this province where I can't get out. I can't even move out of this house and move into another house because the whole province is so damn corrupt. This is like a living hell. Stop and think. He merged in 3 or 4 different thoughts in less than 2 fucking sentences. Oh, that's so professional, isn't it? When I wrote my notice of civil claim and Master Taylor told me that I'm not supposed to be writing in freaking paragraphs, I'm supposed to just write single thoughts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I took it serious. I did the best that I could do. Now we've got some bozo coming in here and just making it like some clown show. This is a clown show, okay? How many different thoughts did he have in there? 3 or 4 different freaking thoughts? Just to twist things around so that he doesn't have to look at the paperwork. If I show, well, I'm going to show you my original enduring power of attorney from CIBC Bank. I'm going to freaking photocopy it and put it in a PDF. I'm going to upload it onto Google Documents, and you can compare that to what Eleanor Gilding sent me in terms of how she revoked me from enduring power of attorney after she stole enduring power of attorney from Uncle John, accusing him of being incapable. Why did she have to go for the enduring power of attorney first? Because she had to say that he was incapable of managing that inheritance that she stole from him, that she didn't tell him about for 14 fucking months. That's why she appointed herself as enduring power of attorney. And this judge is enabling her to get away with it. How do I write this down? Because that is the crutch of the matter here, people. Eleanor Gilding appointed herself enduring power of attorney because obviously John was incapable of managing an inheritance that woman refused to tell him about for 14 freaking months until she had him all doped up and locked away like her dirty secret so she could steal his money. And then she went looking for the superannuation life insurance policy because she figured that he would have had one because he was a government worker cleaning up the government's dirt in the Parliament building. buildings for 25 freaking years. Well, Uncle John didn't like his family, and therefore he canceled his superannuation life insurance policy because he knew they were just a bunch of fucking thieves and crooks, and he didn't want them coming in, ruining his life or ruining my life. But they did it anyway, and now we've got the judge enabling them to get away with it so they can go do it to Lucy or somebody else or somebody else or somebody else, because that's what they're going to keep on doing, people, because nothing stops them. I am showing you the way as to how crooked these individuals are in the healthcare system. So walk lightly when you go into the healthcare system. Pay attention to who you're coming into contact with, because they are not your friends. They are there to hurt you and abuse you and use you and steal from you. And if they can, they will fucking kill you and sell your organs on the black market. Because it's legal. Assisted suicide is legal in British Columbia, Canada now. Didn't you know that? What do you think happened to my son? Probably that. Probably that. If we don't hear back from Brooks in the next 2 years, we know what happened. Right? We know what happened. See? He's happy. He's happy. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. Guess why?
Why?
I got the BCR working.
Oh.
Guess what? The car was just not working. So I'm gonna turn off the TV and watch a Harry Potter movie.
Okay, he's got 4 different, 3 for sure, thoughts into 1 freaking second. I need to address the enduring power of attorney. Right? What are people saying here? Is very difficult. Nope, not much. Yes. They take from the old, for sure. Yes. Then his sister took your power from you. While he was in that place, she must have got to court and had it changed. No, you see, that's the thing, though. She didn't take it to court. She didn't take it to court. She showed up the next day after John told me to go get the lawyer, had the screechy Punjabi social worker that had the British accent witness John signing something to which John was legally blind, so he wouldn't have known anyway what he was signing. He just took for face value what you would tell him that he was signing, and he'd sign, right? And it was probably some handwritten fucking note, or maybe something she printed off the internet. Who knows? It wasn't anything legitimate, though, because it was witnessed by the social worker. That much I know, because when with CIBC Bank, they're using the social worker as a witness to the transfer of this enduring power of attorney, as if it was done with ethics. But you see, that's the thing, though. It wasn't done with ethics. It was done through trickery and through, obviously, it's like the social worker said, John wasn't coming home by any means necessary, because she probably got $10,000 buyout through Eleanor to make sure that John never fucking came home, right? So that's why she said proudly and loudly on video that John wasn't coming home by any means necessary, because she, who came from Britain, had determined that he had no right to come home. That's why John told me to go get a lawyer, because he was having nightmares, because he knew that something was going on, and neither one of us could stop it. So if his sister showed up the next day after he told me to go get a lawyer, and she says, oh, look, I need you to sign this because of that, it could be anything, he'd sign it. And once that was done, that was it. Because they're never going to show me that piece of paper. You see, that's the thing. It took me over a year to get my own personal copy of the enduring power of attorney that sat at the bank for 25 freaking years in good standing, until Eleanor showed up with her crooked ways. Okay? She didn't go to court. Because if she went to court, she would have had to call me in. They all bypass court. That's why they had to do their bank fraud with my bank card with one teller 3 different times to kick out the card so I couldn't get printouts anymore to see what they were spending the money on. That was the only way they could lock me out. And that didn't happen to well over 15 months of him being medically kidnapped. So for 15 months, I was going to the bank off and on, getting bank statements. I have proof. That's what I provided to this crooked judge, to which he ignored. If Eleanor had so much enduring power of attorney, how was it that I could go to the bank and get all these freaking printouts for over 15 freaking months? How was it that I could go to the bank, sit down with the bank manager, and find out that they were depositing $500 a month into a registered savings plan? Plus, they also had a shadow account. Eleanor opened up another secondary account that was outside of his regular account because that's where she deposited his inheritance money. But the bank manager, he couldn't tell me that. All he could tell me was it was a shadow fucking account, and his eyeballs popped out when he seen the dollar amount that was in it. And then, because he knew that fraud was going on, he went off and he fucking photocopied me a copy of the enduring power of attorney, and he fucking gave it to me because he knew that I was being ripped off, and so was John. He knew that my family was being destroyed by that fucking bank and that rotten, stinking freaking healthcare system. Okay? And then he got freaking fired from it because when I went, I bet you any money he got fired, people, because when I went and served CIBC Bank, and I told him I had a copy of the enduring power of attorney, that lawyer was so freaking livid. He said, "How did you get that? Where did you get it from?" I said, "Well, I got it from a good bank manager, somebody that worked at the bank that fucking gave it to me and did the right thing." Honest to God, I swear that man got fired for helping me out. Okay? Because whatever they got for Eleanor was nothing. It was just something written on a piece of paper with some crooked freaking dirty, nasty freaking wannabe social worker standing over witnessing it so that she could get paid for doing Eleanor's dirt. Like the immigrant worker that she is. She's the grunt that does the dirt for the senior staff when it comes to the public union sector. I've been saying it for years. That's the way it works in British Columbia, Canada. So how do I write that shit down? I've written it down so many different ways already. I don't know how to write it down anymore because I keep coming across fucking losers. Losers that call themselves judges. Losers that call themselves lawyers. Losers that call themselves professionals. Yeah, professional thieves, crooks, and hoodlums. And body snatchers. Just submit 2 fucking sentences. Seriously, for what it's worth, for all the headache, I've written thousands and thousands and thousands of words, people. It means nothing because these guys are fucking losers, okay? They are paid to do this shit because the money is too big in ripping off old people and stealing body parts from young people, okay? There is something seriously wrong with this province. It needs to be blown fucking out of the water. Seriously. If we get hit by a nuke, nobody's missing nothing, okay? It'd be like, you go, Russia. Wipe the scum off the planet of the earth because it needs to be eradicated. Honest to fucking God, it really does. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that, but you know, that's the truth of the matter, okay? Because there's nothing good in this province. I've been in this province almost my whole life, and it's a cesspool of devils and demons, all right? I'm serious. That's exactly what it is, okay? There is no way of writing because I've already written it. I've already shown I've already shown the evidence. I've already written in the legislation from the different fucking acts. I've already brought in the Criminal Code of Canada. I've done it all, people. It doesn't matter because all they have to come in with, well, I'm a justice. I'm a judge. I make $250,000 a year to screw people over. So therefore, I'm godly and my word is bona fide and God, right? So how do I fight against this? It's already been documented and written in the original notice of civil claim, to which they ignore. Because Master Taylor had me draw a bunch of fucking lines through it, telling me that I was being verbal diarrhea, running in my sentences together when I should be having individual thoughts, where this judge is doing exactly what I was told not to do. And he's doing it with malicious intent, and he's being mischievous about it. Because he's trying to keep the status quo. Because I don't even think he's fucking real. I don't. I don't know what makes him think he's going to be immune from an Eleanor Gilding, that they're not going to go off and steal his shit too. And then lock him away like a dirty secret. I don't know. That's wrong. If a judge did not sign it, then you could fight it. Turn it down. But if he passed away, it's going to be hard to fight if he had a will with, well, I have his will. You see, I have his one and only will, but they wrote a new will. They wrote a new will. Okay? Just like they opened up a shadow account, just like they locked me out by bank fraud, by knocking out my card, they also wrote a new will. Just like Eleanor appointed herself enduring power of attorney one day after John told me to go get a lawyer, because I guess she felt that he was incompetent and didn't need a lawyer. So therefore, she signed herself on as enduring power of attorney. I mean, how do I write that down? Right? Do you honestly think they're going to acknowledge what I write when I say that Eleanor Gilding appointed herself with enduring power of attorney because she didn't want John to go get a lawyer? How about I write that? How about I fucking just write that? Okay? Let's just get that down. One page. I don't care, people. I'm up against crooks, okay? I'm up against fucking crooks, right? We know that I don't pass the test here, right? We know that they just play word fuckery, right? Okay, so Eleanor Gilding, I'll just put the bitch's name down. Is she getting old too, right? But I think there's something wrong with it. Yeah, it's been infected with something a long time ago. Notice how I call it an it, right? It likes to walk through the halls targeting old people for whatever they can get. Because you know they didn't stop with just John. It went too smooth for the bitch. She knew exactly what she was doing because she had done it before with somebody else. Maybe she didn't benefit directly like she did with John, but she definitely facilitated it and got bought off while she facilitated it because she knew exactly what she was doing. Okay, so 3. Justice Ross is, I'm just going to put misleading. Justice Ross is misleading I can correct this later, to assume that Eleanor Gilding, Mr. Duncan's sister, had acquired enduring power of attorney over John's financial affairs in a legitimate way, whereas Mr. Duncan prior to that happening requested Judy Chorney to retain Paul Evans for legal representation in light of Fraser Health Authority staff refusing to release Mr. Duncan so he could go back to his family home with Judy Chorney and the kids. That's not one sentence, but, and it's a very long sentence, too long for my liking. Anyway, we'll just read it quickly. Anyone paying attention? 6 of you in there, eh? Only 3 likes, huh? This one's a little more sensitive, huh? Yeah. All right. Okay, so Justice Ross is misleading to assume that Eleanor Gilding, Mr. Duncan's sister, had acquired enduring power of attorney over John's financial affairs in a legitimate way, whereas Mr. Duncan, prior to that happening, requested Judy Chorney to retain Paul Evans for legal representation in light of Fraser Health Authority staff refusing to release Mr. Duncan so he could go back to his family home with Judy Chorney and the kids. Do you see how it's just a bunch of wordplay? been there, done that millions of times with these individuals already. And that's what makes me sick and angry. Mistaken to assume, fight the new will. If a judge did not sign it, well, that's the thing though. They got away with what they did. The government protected them from the very beginning, right up until even now. That's what Andrew the Dragon, the lawyer for Fraser Health Authority, was all about. The Judge Bowden asked Andrew where John was. Andrew said, "I don't know." The judge asked him, "Well, what happened to John?" "I don't know." "Oh, okay." Dismissed. They didn't care that he ended up in the emergency ward in Victoria General Hospital and almost died. They didn't care that he was drugged up for months at the Victoria General Hospital to keep him pacified and docile as his sister and her crew were making backroom deals with CIBC Bank, setting up shadow accounts and transferring hundreds of thousands of dollars that John inherited that his sister never told him about for 14 months until she took over enduring power of attorney in the last minute before a lawyer walked in through the door. John told me to go get a lawyer on the 19th. Eleanor showed up and appointed herself as enduring power of attorney with that screechy Punjabi British social worker as a witness. So it's probably all done with chicken scratch. Where mine is a legal document from the bank that sat in the bank for 25 fucking years. In good standing, I might add. To which Justice Ross completely ignores. I guess he doesn't want Eleanor Gilding to come after him. Is that it? Being that she's some rich bitch now. You know, put a hit out on Judge Ross, right? I guess it's better the hits on me. Or maybe Shimei. Or how about Amari? Huh? What do you think? Or Sierra? Who's next? Because that's how they are. Okay, this rough draft. I'll have to come back in and correct a few little mistakes. So now we're going on to B. Two of the plaintiff's daughters, Shimei Chorney and Sierra Chorney, have overdosed. No, they were murdered. Okay? Shimei, murdered. 100%, no doubt. Sierra, lured to her death and more than likely was in a snuff movie, to which would result in murder. Okay? But because she was an addict, it's going to be a little harder to prove that Sierra was lured to her death and was in a snuff movie and murdered just because of her situation with her addiction. Right? But I was there, people. The shenanigans that were going on, we have it on film. Definitely something was going on that wasn't right, because this is British Columbia, Canada. And the things out here that wander the streets that pose as professionals, there's just something wrong with them. And they're not right, okay? But murdered. Sierra was lured to her death. And Shimei was murdered. So that needs to be corrected. Again, he's being misleading. The plaintiff does not accept those findings. They didn't find anything. The cops didn't show up until 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks after Shimei was murdered. And it took me making multiple phone calls to try and get them to come by and start an investigation. It took me multiple requests at the hospital to ask for an investigation. And it even took me having to walk to the police station to request an investigation until finally, at the 4th week, they finally showed up. And the best thing that they did was go to the hospital, looked into medical files at the hospital, and because Shimei was depressed when they illegally apprehended Andre, because that's how gang stalking works and the targeting of a family, right? She had a little kind of, I don't know, episode where I took her to the hospital, and because she was depressed and felt suicidal because she had lost her nephew to illegal apprehension, the doctor there was going to prescribe her with antidepressants, to which she got the prescription, but she never filled it out. And she finished high school with honors in the 3 years that nonsense was going on. So for as much as she was depressed, she was still pulling in honors. Grade 10 honors, grade 11 honors, grade 12 honors. So she wasn't that now so-called suicidal if she was pulling in honors because of what a public union sector worker, more than one, had done to my family when it related to Andre and Sierra. And of course, he doesn't want to look at any of that information. He just wants to accuse me of not accepting what dirty cops have to say when it comes to their funky, irresponsible, nonchalant, who gives a damn investigations. Because at the end of the day, it was a cover-up because illegal organ harvesting was more important. They got what they wanted. They got her organs and other body parts, and they were covering it up. And they've got everybody convinced that everybody out here is killing themselves with fentanyl because it's the cool thing to do. Just going around in fucking circles. I understand that both deaths were ruled to be by accidental drug overdose. We didn't even really discuss that, people. He's having conversation with somebody else. Okay? The plaintiff does not accept those findings. She also believes that the 2 women remains were abused after their deaths. C. The plaintiff's grandson, Amari D. Johnson, was born to the plaintiff's daughter, Shimei Chorney. Amari has suffered from a severe disability since birth. Since Shimei's death, the plaintiff is now his primary caregiver. She alleges that there was negligence and a cover-up in relation to the care that Shimei received before and during his birth. D. So you would think that he would want more information on that, right? In addition, the plaintiff has had several disputes with different ministries of the province government over the past quarter century. Well, no, that's not true. When they illegally cut me off of social assistance in 2003, I didn't dispute anybody. I was I was trying to keep a roof over my children's head because basically my government threw me and my children and Uncle John out into the streets in the middle of winter in 2003. So, I wasn't disputing anybody. I was trying to make sure everybody was in a warm environment and had food. Okay? I didn't really start arguing with the government. Well, I did a little bit with Gary when I was looking after a Gary and I was moving out of that shanty shack and they wanted me to leave a Gary downstairs by herself sleeping and I had to have a fit with the social worker and tell him, "No, I'm not leaving Gary by herself until I know that you guys got the mother got her into daycare someplace else, right, at night because Gary was only 12 years old, right?" And I didn't, the house had rats and I'm leaving, right? And the mother had schizophrenia, and I told him like, no way, you make sure the mother gets childcare in the evening, otherwise I'm not leaving. I'll sleep, like, I'll move my family, but I'm not leaving until I know. They didn't like it, but they ended up making sure the mom got daycare for her at nighttime, right? And then I left, right? But other than that, I didn't really start getting involved with social services until Sierra got pregnant with Andre. And then it was that one was when the fight was on. People was with Andre because they wanted Sierra to move in with Austin and be abused by Austin and so I guess they could go in and steal Andre. I don't know. And then they ended up stealing Andre anyway. And I went to court 22 times. That's not, Andre's only 12 years old. That's not a quarter of a century, okay? Again, he's being misleading. He's being misleading. He's being mischievous. Because they want you to give up. They insult you time and time and time and time and time again because they're not there to help you. They're devil worshippers. They do the devil's bidding. That I've learned. At least in British Columbia, Canada. I don't think there is such a thing as an honorable judge in British Columbia, Canada. I don't think so. Amari D. Johnson was born to the plaintiff's daughter, Shmei Chorney. Amari has suffered from a severe disability since birth. Since Shmei's death, the plaintiff is now his primary caregiver. She alleges that there was negligence and a cover up in relation to the care that Shmei received before and during his birth. In addition, the plaintiff has had several disputes with different ministries of the province, of the provincial government over the past quarter century, including the apprehension of her son, Andre Chorney. Again, he's being misleading. Andre is not my son. I have never had any of my kids apprehended from me. I didn't get trouble with MCFD until, well, I guess you could say Sierra had Andre and they wanted Andre for foster care so they could adopt him out. And then they wanted Uncle John. And then that's when the trouble really started because they wanted to keep what they did with the money, right? And then they went after Shimei and Amari, and they haven't stopped, people. And they got these judges on board with them. So he's being misleading again there. Throughout the whole thing, he's being misleading, which I see is mischievous. I'm getting tired. How long has this been? I did hollering and screaming more than anything else. Just talking the same old fucking garbage shit. Elements of these events are included in the notice of civil claim. 11. The statement of facts in the notice of civil claim is 153 paragraphs long. It is convoluted. It is not capable of a response. Or is it one of these? Which one is he doing? Is he slapping me? Or is he punching me? Which one? I can't do this, people. This judge is allowing my family to continue to be gang stalked, targeted, and harvested. That's all. I don't know how to fight against this. Well, we already know the appeal is a mute point. It means nothing. It's a joke. So I shouldn't be discouraged. That's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is, even if all I wrote was 3 paragraphs, well, 3 sentences, that's all I need to go downtown and submit it for what it's worth. Because they don't take serious anything that you have to say. I will attempt to try and do this again tomorrow. Maybe I'll try and do it without the camera for a little while. And then this way, I won't get so involved. But it doesn't mean anything. If a judge, Grammy Love, if a judge did not sign it, then you could fight it. But yeah, he passed away in January of 2018, and Shimei was murdered in April of 2018. But as far as I'm concerned, John was murdered too. It was just a different kind of murder. And there is no statute of limitation on murder. And wherever I go, Uncle John's coming with me. So if I file another lawsuit, Uncle John's shit's going to be right there, right along with everybody else's shit, because we're just one big happy family. Something that other people were obviously very jealous and envious of. And that's why they go out of their way to destroy it. I must go now. And we'll watch again. Try not to use all of your energy on writing. Keep it real simple. That judge probably already sees exactly what went down. Get some rest, then start fresh tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to do here. And I won't do a live because obviously the live is a distraction. What I need to do is, but you see, that's the thing though, because I've done this so many times already to one capacity or another. And I know how fruitless it is and how pointless it is and how fake the whole justice system is. It's so discouraging. That's why I kind of wanted to try and do it this way, but it's not really working out that good because it's more like just rehashing old news and getting all hyper and sweaty. And I got hot. I wanted to take off my shirt for a little while there because I was like, oh my God, just calm down. Like, like I never realized how corrupt the world, people in it, things, subhumans, I don't know what they are, people, but I just didn't realize that there was that level of decrepency, like decrepency. Am I saying that word right? Depravity. I must have lived, my life wasn't that sheltered, but the depravity that I've been subject to have to deal with is just beyond reasoning, Like, does Eleanor Gilding, John's sister, realize that because of her antics, half my family is dead or injured because of the gang stalking that related to trying to protect the union worker and their integrity? God forbid if Eleanor was at work at the hospital and the cops showed up and put some handcuffs behind her back and locked her up in a jail cell and put her in jail for, I don't know, maybe 10 years for what she's done. That would be so, so grand. But do you think we'd ever see that happen? No. The government would lose out on money because that little bitch is a real money maker. Mm-hmm. And they don't care who they hurt, people. They just don't care. And I'm here to remind you that they definitely hurt people. And they're like ever-ready batteries. They don't stop. They just don't stop. So be on the lookout for the Eleanor Gildings because there's a whole bunch of them out there. And don't trust these banks with your money because it doesn't take much for them to rip you off. I remember you did an interview with Tiffany, YouTube. That's where I started checking in. Yeah, and I'm still fighting a good fight. Kind of a little cuckoo. Most people would have given up by now. Get some rest. Okay, I'm going to get some rest. All right, I'll see what happens tomorrow. I will get up in the morning. I got to start laundry. Amari has to go on the toilet. And then I'll just sit here and I'll do this first without turning on the camera. In between what I'm doing, I do have to go out, as if I got time for that. I don't know. It'd take an hour to do that, and it will make me tired because I'm walking. And then I'll be too tired to do this. But you know what? If all I get is 3 sentences, 4 more, maybe 7 sentences, then that's what I'll submit, people. That's what I'll submit. Only because I'm dealing with animals that they're like savages. Like, like primal, that kind of animal. Nothing civil about them. Goodbye. Thank you for keeping me company. I appreciate it.